Nemahsis, what's going on? So welcome.
Hello.
It's a Monday like no other for you. It's the first Monday and the only Monday in your life where you can say you put an album out a couple of days ago and you're living with that beautiful fact. Congratulations.
I know, finally, it's free. I'm free.
Yeah.
It's
you
out.
must feel that way, actually.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
You know, you spend so much time holding on to these feelings and these thoughts and this creativity, and then you let it go. And so do you feel lighter? Do you feel different today?
Yeah, I definitely. For the first time ever, I feel like I'm not like silenced. Like I've been sitting with this. I was waiting for the right time, the right opportunity.
Yeah.
And that was just never happening. So in May, we were just like, okay, 20 days from now, we start the rollout and we do it. And it feels good. Like we followed the timeline like perfectly to what I mapped out in that hour of impulsively saying, I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels really good to stand by my word and not wait for the perfect wave or whatever and just do it and make it fit. Yeah.
We're talking about the album, which is called Verbathim. Came out a couple of days ago. And, you know, I think what you said there is beautiful. The idea of waiting for other people to tell you what wave to ride.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know that's not your set.
No.
It's not your set. No, it's not your set. Stay on shore. No, it's not your set. It's like, man, I'm just going to get in the water.
Yeah.
I'm just going to find my wave.
Yeah.
Right? That moment of courage, what really prompted that final decision to take that extra step and decide that, you know, at the end of the day, I don't have to fit into anyone else's ideas of when and how and what. I'm just going to do this and I'm going to stick to my word.
I think when we look at a role model or someone, we can kind of follow the steps. Whether you have an older sister, an older brother, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do that because look at the consequences that happened, or that worked really well. I'm going to follow in their steps. I didn't really have that with any musician, let alone like pop star.
But were you looking for someone and something for a while?
Yeah, I think I got comfortable with finding bits within certain artists, but I could just never make a whole version of me. Do you know what I mean? So I was just like, okay, this could work like if I roll it out like Ray did when, you know, she had issues with her label, and I was like, there's so much of me that relates to that part of her rollout. But then at the same time, like, I don't look like her, so then I can't do that, you know? And I'm not making the same music in the same genre, so I would take little bits, or like Chapel Roan and like her label dropping her too and her waiting and keeping going, and also like the identity and like the whole different queer community that she attaches to. So I was trying to find bits of me in all these like really great artists that I look up to, but it still wasn't making me. There were still missing pieces, no matter how I Jenga'd it, you know?
Okay, so you need a couple of those extra really important Jenga pieces.
Yeah.
What were they? What finished it for you?
What finished it? I wasn't finding it. Like, I'm being honest, and the album was sitting. It was just collecting dust. Like, at that point, I think, like, 40 had just finished mixing the entire thing with Jod, and I was sitting there, and I'm like, oh, my God, like, time is passing, and now more than ever, I feel like the music's needed. So I just, literally, there wasn't much thought put into it.
Amazing.
It was crazy.
Amazing. Just execute on things. I respect it so much. If you're joining us for the first time, or perhaps you're a little unfamiliar with the music that Nemahsis makes, then be kind to yourself, because it really is it's a long journey for you, but it's the start in a way, because this album is an important first step for a lot of people to get to know you. So I want to give them an opportunity to understand a little bit more about who you are and where you've come from and what inspired you to be an artist and to create. And I'll let you kind of begin wherever you want to begin. Where does the story begin for people?
I think it probably begins somewhere very early on when I started singing privately. Like, I would sing in talent shows and stuff at school, and I grew up with no music. Like, music was not allowed in our household, very conservative Muslim family. So my dad didn't even know that I listened to music, let alone that I could even sing.
How did you do it? How did you smuggle it into the house?
My mom would hide. We had one boombox that we hid in the towel closet because, like, I come from a very traditional family where my mom stays at home, does the laundry, the cooking, and my dad provided. So we knew he would never be in the linen closet. So we would hide it there for, I'm not joking, close to like a decade. We would just hide this boombox. And also, we didn't come from a lot of money, so we didn't replace, you know, computers and stuff regularly. And we would just listen to my mom's Arabic cassettes that she brought with her when she came as an immigrant over from Palestine to Canada. And we would just listen to Arabic tapes. And then as we got older, like maybe I think like 2005 or 6, my mom said we can each get one CD for our Eid celebration, which is like our Christmas. And she was like, you guys can get one CD each, but you have to hide it from your dad and don't say you got it from me.
This is your brother or sister joining you in this?
Oh, all of us. There's
All of
six
us.
of us.
Six of you. Wow.
We're 1 year apart.
Wow.
So we had to make sure Well, my 2 younger brothers didn't get an album. So the 4 of us made sure we got albums that we could switch and rotate. So that was our first introduction
so you had a
into
consensus decision based on spread
we
it out.
like spreadsheet,
We have to eat.
pros and cons.
Yeah.
Like this might be our last album. We just continued to hide it from my dad until I was maybe in my early 20s. And I was working retail. I used to work at a makeup counter. And my dad randomly, he's like very, no, don't, like don't talk at the dinner table. Like he was just very calm and collected. Like, I love you, you know that. Like not much emotion. So he drove me to work one day, which was very out of the ordinary. And then he said, wait 1 second. He locked the door when I got to work. And I was like, what? And he plugs in an aux, which by the way, we don't even listen to the radio. Like road trips, it was silent, windows down. And that was just normal. And he plugs in this aux and it was me singing online. I didn't even think he would have known how to use YouTube, but it turns out his brother had sent him a link. And I thought I was in so much trouble. I thought like, that's it. I could be kicked out. And this is me like 21 years old, 22, scared, like, you know, to let my dad down. Like they're immigrants, they work their butt off.
This is a crossroads moment for you.
100%.
You've been building up to this moment where at some point you're going to have to face the reality you've built for yourself versus the fantasy your dad is in and you're not doing this. Right? And this is it. This is the moment. So what happened?
So then he played the whole thing and like 30 seconds in, I'm like, Dad, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, turn it off. I swear this is old. This is like 2 years old. He's like, stop. Let it finish. And he was so angry. And I just sat there and I looked at my feet and I was just like, oh my God, am I going to get the stuff out of my bedroom before I'm kicked out? And then I looked at him at like 10 seconds after it was over and I look over and his face is wet. He was bawling his eyes out. And he's like, is this what you want to do? And I was like, no, I thought it was a trap. He was like, is this what you want to do? If this is what you want to do, I'll do whatever I can. I'll support you. And it took me I would say about 2 years to actually take his word on it and pursue music because I didn't want to let him down. Like they fight, you know, they've done so much to give us a better life. And then I was throwing it away to like frivolously sing, you know, which now it's a lot more than that. And I'm very glad I did it. So
thank you for sharing one of the most inspiring, amazing personal stories we've heard in the studio in a very long time.
I'm
maybe
happy to hear
ever.
it.
I mean, you know, when you open that question up, you could have cut the corners on anything, but you went there, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Emotional. Is there a song on the record that really speaks to you in that particular part of your life that you think even just a sentiment, if not directly, really reminds you of what you've been through and the emotional journey you've been at to become who you truly are?
To be very honest, I think all the songs I wrote while finding this album explored that on the nose. I think for the first time ever with this project, Verbathim, I wanted it to be like not so on the nose with what I've experienced. And I wanted to kind of just have some songs where I was just a girl making popular music.
I'd say verbatim. You say verbatim.
It is verbatim, actually,
Yeah.
but the lisp comes from the imagery
That's
of the cover art.
right. Yes,
So
we
somebody's
were talking about this last week.
Yeah, so somebody's holding my tongue. That's where
That's right.
the extension of the T turns into a TH.
That's right.
But initially we were calling it verbatim, and it is verbatim.
Yeah.
But with the imagery, it's verbathim. So
Yeah, yeah.
interchangeably.
Interchangeably.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it verbatim because I love the
Okay,
way that
sick.
you've created
Sounds
it.
biblical. Yeah.
It's true. But I never asked you one last afterthought on that really beautiful family story that you shared. What were the 4 albums?
Very good question. Panic at the Disco.
Yeah, who chose that?
I chose that.
You
That
chose
was
that
mine.
one? Okay.
That was the one.
Well, you
that,
all chose everything, right? Because someone's like, yeah, but we need this. So
No,
everyone's making a
mine was
collective decision.
controversial. They didn't like love mine. My sister, My Chemical Romance. The both of them were like, me and my sister aligned on that one. My sister Kanye, The Heartbreak,
Yep.
and then
808s and a Heartbreak. Wow.
yes, and then my other sister, I'm pretty sure it was Avril Lavigne, but she was younger, which is still great.
That's cool.
Avril Lavigne's still great. We love our punk
Let's
pop princess.
Well, exactly. Let's take a look at what that says. So, okay, you've got Panic. Okay, so let's start with Kanye. Kanye shows you what's entirely possible with no
Yeah.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Avril Lavigne shows you what's possible from a young and female point of view, striving with strong ambition and incredible songs, like unashamedly. I can dress them up in pop punk outfits,
Yeah.
but these are just big, undeniable, timeless classic copyrights,
Yeah.
right? Then you got My Chemical Romance, who speak for every outsider there is, right?
Yeah.
They're like the big band that came from inside the uncool room that made it to the biggest stages in
Yeah.
the world and never, ever pretended to be anything but uncool, which made them even cooler.
Yeah.
And then you got Panic at the Disco, which is kind of where Stick of Gum comes from in a weird way, because it's like very theatrical, and it brings visuals and it brings performance at a different level. So you're covering so many bases.
I know.
Great consensus.
I actually learned a lot of big words like English. I really was at an age where I started learning, because I was behind, because I was speaking Arabic
from Panic
at
at
home.
the Disco?
Panic at the Disco. Like nitroglycerin, all these things. I would have the back of the CD, and I would look up the lyrics in the dictionary and figure out all these things. And I know, it just
let's take a look at the lyrics right now.
Most of the album names are basically the dictionary, because they're so
well,
long.
imagine as I pace in the pews in the church corridor, and I can't help but
Okay,
to
but
hear.
the best one is there's a good reason these tables aren't numbered, honey. That's my favorite one.
The observations are great, right?
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who can write in speech bubbles, in inverted commas, like, what a beautiful wedding, what a beautiful wedding, says the bridesmaid to a waiter.
Woke up in my middle school bedroom. Like, it's just me, the same,
Yeah. It's really good, man. I mean, it really speaks to that kind of time when I feel like Fall Out Boy and Remain at the top of their game.
Yeah.
But we're really pushing the strangest songs on people.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I was joking with Pete and with Patrick when they came in the studio about what was that song? It's an arms race. This ain't a scene. It's an arms race. I was like, dude, the first time I ever heard that song and I played it on the radio, I thought, why is 4 songs playing at the same time?
That's my goal, actually.
4 different songs playing at the same time, not even in the same key. I was like, what is going on here?
I love that.
Like when it starts, I am, and I swear the guitar is out of key. The trace, somehow it works perfectly. It works perfectly. Anyway, we're not here to talk about emo. We're here to celebrate you. Well, we all are to some degree, right?
Yeah.
We just coined it. Someone just gave it a name. Let's talk a little bit about some of the people that helped you create this body of work.
Yes.
You know, your journey now, we've got some insight into that. I love 40. Every time I've ever spent any time working with him, and by say that, you know, seeing him and while I've been working, you know, around OVO or whatever, and he's been around, he's just been such a calming presence, such a cool cat.
Yeah.
Really lovely dude. Incredible producer. I mean, there is before 40 and after 40 in terms of sound design and production and feel.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that relationship and how you really feel he impacted your music and changed you as an artist.
Well, it all happened when I got dropped by my label in October. He actually had followed me maybe a couple weeks prior to me getting dropped. And obviously I followed back, and I was just like, what, was that an accident? I don't know what's going on. Then I was dropped, and I posted that I got dropped. Then he DM'd me, and he was like, I just saw that you were dropped. Is it true? Like, how can I help? And then obviously I was just like, oh, he's just being a hero. Like, he's a nice guy. So I was like, oh, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. And then he's like, no, seriously, swing by the studio. It took me like weeks of him DMing me and giving me his phone number.
There's a thread going on here. It took you 2 years after your dad gave you a green light for you to figure it out. It took you weeks after 4. You got to maybe...
I want to give them time. I think I'm insecure. I just want to give people time. I don't want to like lock someone in. Yeah, like I want to make sure that you genuinely believe in me. It's not a pity party. It's not this.
Got it.
Even though he was following me before that, I just want to make sure. So
I should probably take a little bit of like insight from that actually, because I go the other way when someone says, well, there's an actual opening at my wet yes.
No, I'm like, oh, no, just you think about it. You know, I want to make sure that it's 100% equal, like, and reciprocated, you know?
Yeah, you want to know it's real.
Yeah, so then I kind of like put it off just because I wanted to give him time to back out. And a couple weeks went by, if not even like more than a month, upward a month, maybe like 6 weeks. I go to this first outing since I'd been dropped, and he was there. And he's like, Nema. And I'm like, oh my God. And then he's like, tomorrow you're coming to the studio. And I was like, okay, fine. So we went to the studio, and I was like, he was like, why'd you take so long? And I was like, well, you haven't heard the album. I had nothing out except my EP. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, how do you know you're going to like the new album? It's like nothing like it. And he was like, my job is to listen to something and know the potential of where it's going to go before even hearing it. He's like, that's my job. So I was like, okay. So I play him Old Body, New Mind. And he's like, next one. He's like, I really like that. Play the next one. And then I play You Wore It Better. And he goes, in the middle, he goes, I'm mixing this shit. I'm mixing this shit. I'm mixing this shit. And then I was like, and then I like played 2 more songs, and I was like, okay, but I have a question.
Then he started like randomly punching people in the bar, like in like a euphoric rage. Yeah. Like, come here, pal. Yeah. I'm mixing this shit. Went full WWE. The whole thing was just crazy. It turned into a full-scale bar brawl.
And then he goes, I play like 2 more songs. And then he goes, and then I go, okay, I have a question though. Like, do you want to add production? Like, why mix? He's like, because I know how good this can sound if I mix it. It's going to sound like production. He ended up adding production to You Wore It Better. I knew he was going to touch it. Come on. He's tempted. He added keys, everything. And then, of course, in that moment, I came again, and then he was just like, Jod, his engineer, who is one of the most tasteful individuals. He catches things that I think about in passing and I doubt myself, and he'll send it already done. And I never even vocalized it. So he was like, I want you to work with Jod closely to get all the little tweaks and everything. And Jod was so attentive, who goes by like Oopsing online, was so attentive. I've never seen someone care for any piece of music before. He's so gentle. Like, it was like, you know, those videos of like animals being gentle with eggs that are like raw. It's like that.
It's what you want, somebody who spends that much time bringing your music to its finest life.
So then I spent a long, extensive period of time with Jod, fixing everything, cleaning up everything, and then 40 came in and just, you know.
Did it?
Yeah.
Did the 40 thing.
Really, and you know, obviously the album was created with Danny and Pablo.
Yeah.
Like the whole planting the seeds, making sure the roots are stable. Like, this would be nothing without Danny and Pablo. Like, I created the majority of the album with them, and they're just geniuses, and I'm so grateful.
You know, you now have achieved something that few artists in the past have achieved comparatively, but more and more are going on to achieve in the future, which is you are taking the supposed guidance and support of an infrastructure, and when it falls away, rather than disappear into the shadows and lick your wounds and figure out something else you're going to go and do with your life, you're doubling down and backing yourself even more, which is what you did in the first place, to put your music on YouTube before anyone cared.
Yeah.
So you're just going back to the root of what inspired you in the first place, which was yourself.
Yeah.
So because we're in a transition where that's going to become the norm.
Yeah.
That's going to be the reset of the power dynamic between the people who tell you you're great versus I know I'm great. Yeah. What are you going to do with me? Yeah. Right. That's where we're going. But there's artists who are still caught up in that thrash of like the lack of confidence that you've explained several times in our conversation. You still feel at times about calling someone back, or am I doing the right thing, or should I even mention that I think that little bit is out of sync in the mix?
Yeah.
What can you tell people about the experience from the moment that you disconnected your relationship with your label to backing yourself? What did you learn in that moment for yourself?
No one is gonna stand up for you the way that you would. I actually wrote something down the other day where I was like, I really don't like myself. Like, I really am insecure. I really don't like myself. Until I find out somebody doesn't like me, I've never loved myself more. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not even faking. It just kicks in. It's like an underdog effect. And like, I'm very insecure, and I could be very sad, and I could really dislike myself in moments, and what I've said, even I know things will replay with what I said today that could have been better, but only I can criticize myself. The moment someone else says something, I'm like, stop right there. This is the best friggin' album ever. How dare you?
So you have a very, very loud self-critical voice.
Yeah.
You have a very loud critical voice, which can be very important. It allows you to move through life and make some pretty decent decisions. Self-awareness is important. But it can also, and I've learned this personally, the critical voice can get in the way of you achieving your goals and what you want to achieve with your life, happiness and balance, because it's there when you don't want it as well. It doesn't just turn on when you need it. It's always waiting to speak, right? Even when you're having a good day, critical voice is like, well, I got something for you too.
Yeah.
So how are you getting on with that?
Well, actually, I was just waiting in the room, and there was a magic 8-ball, and
what did it say?
It said, yeah.
Sweet.
I asked, and they were like, it was like, definitely.
Good.
So,
you know, it brings us to a really cool point in our conversation off the air that I think we should bring to the people. Old body, new mind. This idea of trying to add some new history, some experiences to the ones that have gone before you, that ultimately influence you, whether you recognize them in a sort of surface level or not. They stay within you. This idea of spiritual guidance.
Yeah.
And we were talking about trusting your instinct and your critical voice. And you said something really interesting, which I'd love you to rephrase, which is about the relationship between the critical voice and the spirits that you really are tapped into.
Yeah. So whenever I have critical thinking, I have to figure out, is it a gut feeling from an experience that I haven't actually went through, but my ancestors have, and my DNA has been altered based on that experience that I know nothing about? Or is it just critical thinking or me being very like negative, you know? So I have to sometimes like be like, is it anxiety or is it actually a warning? Like, don't release this. This isn't the right time. This isn't the right person to be working with. Or is it just me being insecure? So I take time and I sit with it.
But isn't there, can there not be a pretty important relationship between the two? Can they, my point being, can the idea of some sort of guidance from a holistic place, a place that is beyond our comprehension but exists regardless, can that not fold into the idea of what instinct is anyway? Can it not be the same thing?
I think it can. I think it can, but I think I've gotten really good at finding where it's coming from.
Right.
Like I sit with it. I'm not scared to take my time releasing something or doing something if I have to. I think when you get good at it, there is a very fine line. It can be blurred and you could be like, oh, but maybe it's not. It's very... And that's what like I wrote Chemical Mark about. There was a study conducted where these mice kept eating at this cherry blossom tree, and the scientists put shock therapy under their feet. And every time they went close to the cherry blossoms and tried to ruin it, they would shock their feet. And after about 13 days, they noticed that the mice didn't go as close as not where they could see the tree. They didn't associate the pain with the tree. They had associated the scent. So they'd stay as far away from that the smell of the tree. So then they took those 12 mice, got them to mate with 12 female mice that weren't exposed to the shock therapy. They got them to have kids that were only exposed to 50% of the DNA that was traumatized. And they noticed that 100% of the offsprings did not go as close as they could smell the scent because they had associated pain they had never felt with that smell. It took 7 offsprings being diluted every time by 50% for one of them to break the trauma. Wow. So those intrusive thoughts, all those things, took 7. And I did the math, okay? Because of course, I'm that person. 13 days of a mouse's lifespan is under 2 years for a human.
Crazy.
So we have to be gracious with why something's telling us no, why these intrusive thoughts are happening. And sometimes, it's insecurity. And sometimes someone's trying to warn you, you know?
Wow, we're going to get so much amazing art from you. We really are. This is such an incredible gift you've been given that you give to us. You share with us this not only this insight that inspires your music and allows you to go to these places that are so, I don't know, like there's a wisdom in the music you make, but equally that you had the courage to just keep going because you are 100% an outlier. And I mean that as a compliment.
Thank you.
You don't fit. Compliment on times 2, you know?
Square in a circle.
100%. All the compliments. All the things as an artist I think most people secretly strive for, even when they want success and attention, is to somehow be unique. You are unique.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Congrats on everything.
Thank you very much.
What's been happening this week?
For me?
Yeah, what's been going on? What's going on?
I did a show the night of my album dropping.
Yeah.
So I just showed it 2 hours before it dropped.
Yeah.
Performed it live. First time with in-ears, sold out crowd. Sold out in under 24 hours.
How did in-ears feel?
I actually loved it at the time, but like looking back, it's definitely something I got to get used to a bit more. But it's kind of like doing karaoke and like people are watching you. Like it's kind of so fun.
Yeah.
It takes away some seriousness, which is nice because my music is heavy, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah. And what about I mean, look, you know, you're an artist as well, and fans 100% will find you in our own time, and it'll be a beautiful long-term relationship. But you know who gets it immediately are the people who make the music because they recognize a real one. So, you know, what does that mean for you? Like, who's the dream? Who would you love to work with? You get to work with 40. That's incredible. Who's next?
Yeah. I would love Lorde. Obviously, like I've gotten DMs after DMs saying that like they're just lyrics and things that connect back to her. I think she's one of the best songwriters of our time. Mitski as well, Adrienne Lanker. They're all just like women I look up to, voices I look up to. They push the status quo and they align with me politically long before. It's like deep down, once again, I knew, you know, there's someone I could be safe in the same room with.
And have you had a chance to spend, I completely agree. And there's before, in particular with someone like Lorde and Mitski and artists like that, there's, again, pre and post. I mean, I think pop music and music in general just changed after Pure Heroin. I just think that album came out.
Pure Heroin was my, like.
Because as a young person, you sit there and like, wow, why are you talking about me so well? Like, why are you so specific about my life? And it's like, because it's my life too.
Yeah, I know.
Direct.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, man, how exciting for you. This is incredible.
I know.
And have you had a chance to spend any time in studios with anyone and had an experience lately? Are you keeping it moving?
The last song I wrote, I think, was Stick of Gum.
And that's it, ready to go.
Yeah, and it was about a year ago. So.
Incredible. We're so excited to have you in the studio, Nemahsis. Verbathim is the name of the album. I just want to know what the rest of the year holds for you and how, I mean, you've done the show now. You've got the record out. We're only in the last quarter of this year and then we're going to 2025. So what does the future hold and when are we going to see you again? What's going on?
Well, I have some of the next album ready, of course. You know, I don't sleep on that. And then I just have a rule. I like to have half of the next project done before releasing the next, the one. Is that not a thing?
I've never heard that, but I love that.
I like to have half of
I've
like
heard it before, but not many people
half
do that.
of it. Oh, like
yeah.
at least half of like confidently. And I did that even with like my previous one.
People have told me it actually helps you complete things.
Yeah.
Because it gives you an idea about where you're going next. So it gives you're unafraid to draw a line or close the chapter on that album because you already know that it's going to lead to the next thing.
Yeah, and that's why like even with Stick of Gum, that was pulled out of the same writing that I did for the next album. So I took that piece, added it to this project, which initially was going to close the project to give you a bridge to what's to come.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to tour. I'd like to finish that album. I'd like to tour some more. I'd love to collaborate, hopefully with some of those people I named.
Is there anybody else?
What?
Is there in the studio for this week? Nobody?
You're so
Nobody wanna
silly.
mention?
You're so silly.
I mean, he's just being way more upfront than I am.
He's just like, ringing me up, Stevie Wonder.
Come on.
You gotta pull it,
I gotta say something.
teeth.
I gotta say something here. This is a classic example of everything you've established thus far, which is that like,
Yeah.
But by the way, I feel kind of bad though in a way because you've already told us. Okay, let me clear my thoughts. This is so funny.
It's so crazy.
This is so funny.
I forget.
He's
just a homie, you know what I mean?
That's just the boy, you know?
No, you
just a
didn't.
homie.
People don't forget that. But here's the thing, right? Like, you spent all this conversation so far telling us how you like to take your time before anything becomes real.
Yeah.
You don't want to rush into making that call back. You don't want to make a commitment to making music even when someone says you can. You want to give people a chance for it to literally.
Yeah.
And here we are on radio doing that classic breakfast show thing of like, let's talk about Stevie Wonder, shall we? I hear you're in the studio with Stevie Wonder. And
Well,
you're like,
technically, it's been cooking since February 2023.
So what happened? I mean, but this is a nice way for us to pause. Like, how did that begin? Like, what's the story here?
Well,
Come on.
he pulled up to my show. It was all him. Like, the ball I didn't know was in his court.
Crazy.
And then I was just trying to finish the album. And like he invited me to work with him at that time. He was like, oh my God, like I play this instrument, the arpeggi. And I was like, oh my God, period. Not me Googling what a arpeggi was after. And I was like, I would love that. And then afterwards, it was just a matter of wanted to give him time to back out in case he didn't like me anymore. And I waited and then, I took a bit of a break from October to about May, just went back home, saw my family, made sure they were good, raised some money, tried to do some things for the better. And then I was kind of ready to go. And when Stick of Gum came out, I guess it was time for Stevie Wonder to pop back in.
How's it been? What's it going on?
It's pretty good. Like, honestly, like we just have to work together with the arpeggi and Stevie Wonder and me and the arpeggi in a room.
This is so cool. This is so cool.
I know, it's really weird.
Listen, what a great, great story. I mean, you've been through a lot. Your family have, achieved an enormous amount to get to this point in life where you get to do things that, to your point in the beginning of our conversation, would have seemed unlikely.
Yeah.
Given the framework you grew up in and what's important to the people that you love that are in your life.
Yeah.
That's your framework. That's what raised you. And now you've been able to add something new to that. And now you'll be able to continue to leave your chemical mark further and further into the future. And it will grow. And it's beautiful. And I can't wait for us to be here in this room to talk to you every time you're ready to talk about growth.
Thank you guys for having me.